Hi, my name is Michael Cady, and we're going to be doing a series on drawing cartoons. Okay, so we're going to start out with some very basic kind of things. Each cartoon, or I should say, each one of these videos in the series will deal with a different type of cartoon or different types of techniques, tips, and just typical things that we would use in cartoons. So let's get started. Um, Welcome to my studio. A couple of things that we want to talk about first, very basic things, okay? When we're working on cartoons, and in the cartoons that I'm going to do, we're going to work with word balloons. So this is how we're going to have our guys talking. So a couple of things to remember. One, always do your words first. Notice I drew a couple of word balloons here. This is to give you an idea of how they're going to be talking. We don't want to draw them first. We want to put the words in. And I'll give you an example. As I'm doing these videos, I'm going to draw them really quickly, simply. You can embellish them. We'll talk more about actual drawing of characters later on. But right now I'm going to be talking about some very basic kind of stuff. So in this cartoon, we're going to have a couple of characters. Again, I'm going to draw them very quickly and simply. And this cartoon, we're going to use the cone of shame. And the cone of shame is, in the movie Up, the dogs, when they have to, keep from biting a suture or something like that, to keep from biting a cut, they have this cone that they put on their head. They refer to it as the cone of shame. I like to use it in a cartoon. Now, here's a very basic drawing. I have the cone of shame on this guy here. As we go along, your challenge will be to take some of these, use them with your own ideas, and draw them as simply or as complex as you would like to. Use your own style. Now, this one I've drawn without any background. I'm leaving the background out. Again, it's very simple. I'll put some hair on this guy. Now, I have a smile on this guy's face. And again, we're going to be talking about expressions. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. Why does he have a smile on his face? Well, as you're doing this cartoon, and there's a million different ways to do this, you can create this the way that you want. But what I want to illustrate here is how to put the words into our cartoon before we do the word balloons. If I were to put a word balloon in now, draw it in, and then try to put my words in, I might run out of space. I don't want to crowd my words. So let's keep this really simple. He's going to be saying, and again, whatever you choose, it's your cartoon. You can make up a lot of different ways for this to go. He's going to say, and I'm just randomly doing this, he's going to say, nice hat, where can I get one? And again, I'm spelling things out. I'm using punctuation. Okay, that should be a question mark. He's going to say, nice hat, where can I get one? Just one way to do this cartoon. So I did the words first. Now I'm going to put the word balloon around him like this. Notice I've left a lot of space around the words. I did it nice and clear. I'm not the neatest printer in the world, so I use all uppercase. If you print nicely, you can use upper and lowercase. Make sure your words are clear. Here's one thing I always tell my students. When you're doing a cartoon, you should not have to explain to anyone anything. It should all be controlled in your cartoon, okay? You're not going to be standing there to show somebody every single time, oh, this is what's going to happen next, or this is what's happening. It should all be inclusive. So now in this cartoon, It's very clear what's happening. He's got this on his head. We don't know why, but that's okay. We don't need to. And he's saying, he's mistaken it. He's saying, nice hat, where can I get one? Okay. Now let's talk about adding a little more things to this. I'm going to add this line is the horizon line. The horizon is wherever the sky meets the ground or where the floor meets the wall in a cartoon, okay, in any art. So the horizon controls where these guys are in the cartoon. So if you can see this, they move away from, let's say they're inside, they moved away from the wall. If I were to draw my characters like this, and again, I'll have these couple of people here. If I were to draw my horizon like this, they would be standing on the edge of something, or if they were inside, they'd be right against the wall. We don't want that. So what we say is, nope, don't like that. If we have our horizon like this, if our horizon is like this, uh-oh, what's happening? Right, they're floating. We don't want that to happen unless we do. If we want them to be floating in a cartoon, we would show that by putting a little bit of motion and maybe a little bit of shadow underneath. Okay, so we can, I mean, if we really wanted them floating for some reason or other, that's how we would do it. But we don't want to put the horizon there if it's just part of the cartoon and they're not floating in the air. This is ideal. Right about here, moves them into the room. Now, what if he's talking now? Okay, we can have a word balloon over here. And for the sake of this cartoon, he's just going to respond, it is not a hat. I think I want to accentuate the word not. There's a couple ways to do it. We could make it bolder. We could do this. You can underline it. And of course, we've got the exclamation mark. Now, word balloon. Again, leaving lots of space. Okay. So this is not too bad of a cartoon as far as the design on the page. I'm using up a lot of the paper. I don't have a tiny little thing in the bottom. We don't necessarily want to have everything centered because that would kind of look kind of stagnant, and I'll tell you more about that later. So we've got this nice basic kind of thing going on. His expression goes with what he's saying, okay? He seems like he's kind of happy about this whole thing. We can't see his expression. He's probably not happy. So now let's talk about if I were to continue this, what if I wanted to have more talking going on? How am I going to do that? Well, again, remember, do the word balloons first, but I'm going to illustrate just by drawing the word balloons how we would do that. I'm going to move our characters down to the bottom so I can show you a whole bunch of this, the whole word balloon thing. So now we're looking at just kind of the head and shoulders of these guys. Sometimes a cartoon may actually have this sort of thing. Again, you want to plan ahead. Usually I draw my cartoons in pencil first and then ink them in. Again, we'll talk more about that later. But for the sake of these cartoons, I'm doing them right in pen, just so we can kind of move along quickly. All right, let's do it. Let's actually do it with the words, okay? So you can see what I'm talking about. So he's going to say, these guys here, how are you? We'll start off with that question mark. And then this guy's going to respond, I'm fine. Oh, I'll get that. He's going to say, I'm fine. How about you. Oops, put the U in there. And then he's going to say down here, I'm good. What's up? Okay, so we're going to always read from left to right, top to bottom. And remember, I'm going to be putting word balloons in here, but I haven't done them yet. I'll show you why. So he says, I'm fine. How about you? He says, I'm good. What's up? Question mark. And then he's just going to finish off with not much. Exclamation. So here's how the word balloons could go. And there's other ways to do these. And again, we'll talk about those in other cartoons in the series. But this is what this would look like. Now, why do we separate them like this? Why wouldn't we just have them all in one balloon? This way, we're not going to read it all together as one thing. We could read this first, then we would go on to this, then this, then this. Okay? So we're going to talk more about all those sorts of things and more in later videos. Have fun. Keep drawing.